Alright, game 1 of the finals is Wednesday, the Spurs against the Knicks. Forget the storylines, on the actual numbers, who has the edge? Because on one side, you've got the league's deepest two-way machine, and on the other, you've got the toughest half-court team in basketball. Now, this is the matchup of the entire season, so let's not argue about it. Instead, let's settle it with the math. This is Gamers Culture. But real quick, before we get into it, if you like breakdowns that actually show the math, instead of just yelling takes at you, then go hit subscribe. It's free, and it genuinely helps, so click it. First, let's talk method. Because we are not counting wins or vibes. No, we are going category by category, and we're using the 4 factors, as in the 4 things that actually decide a basketball game. Shooting, turnovers, rebounding, and free throws. So whoever wins the most rounds wins the tape. So here's the tale of the tape. On one side, the Spurs, 62-20, the 2 seed out west, and on the other, the Knicks, 53-29, the 3 seed in the east. And so one team simply won more, but hold that thought. Alright, round 1, the body of work. Because before any matchup, you ask how good were they all year? So here is net rating, basically how much each team outscored everyone every 100 possessions, and the Spurs sit at plus 8.3. While the Knicks sit at plus 6.5, and once you adjust for strength of schedule, the gap holds. See, this is SRS, a team scoring margin after you account for who they played, and one of them grades at 8.3, while the other grades at 6, so San Antonio takes round 1. They've simply been the better team, but a series is not a season. Now, round 2, offense, and here is the shock, because these two offenses are basically identical. See, the Knicks score 119.8 every 100 trips, the 3rd best in the league. In the Spurs, they score 119.6, right behind them at 4th. So this round is a coin flip. See, New York grinds, Brunson walks it up into the mid-range, Towns pops behind the arc, and when they miss, they crash the offensive glass for second chances. San Antonio though, well, they get downhill. Fox in transition, Castle off the bounce, and Wembanyama bending the whole defense. So it's the same output, but one team manufactures it in the mud and the other in space. Okay, round 3, defense, and this is where it tilts. So here's defensive rating. The points each team allows every 100 possessions, and the Spurs give up just 111.3, the 3rd stingiest in the league. The Knicks, on the other hand, give up 113.3. Good, but not elite. And here is exactly why. Because it comes down to the quality of shot you let up. See, when you play the Spurs, your effective field goal percentage drops to 52.2, the 3rd lowest mark in the league. Against the Knicks though, it climbs to 54.1. So San Antonio makes you take worse shots. And the reason has a name, because he doesn't just block shots, no, he erases the rim entirely. So ball handlers see him waiting, and then they settle for the long 2, for the contested floater, for the shot the defense wanted all along. So round 3 goes to San Antonio, and it isn't close. But now, round 4, the glass, and this is strength on strength. Because here is New York's secret weapon, offensive rebounding. See, the Knicks grabbed 29.3% of their own misses, the 5th best rate in the league. The Spurs, by contrast, grabbed just 26.2. So on the offensive glass, the edge is clearly New York's. But here is the collision, because that weapon runs straight into a wall. See, the Spurs clean up 77.3% of opponent misses, the number 1 defensive rebounding rate in the entire league, and the Knicks sit right behind them at 2nd. So New York's best path to extra points meets the very best team at taking them away. So think about what that means. Because the single thing New York does best on offense is hunt, the second chance. And yet the team standing across from them is the toughest in basketball to rebound against. So whoever wins that one battle on the boards might just win the series. Now, round 5 turnovers, and here New York fights back because the Knicks force turnovers. See, they take the ball away on 13.1% of opponent possessions, while the Spurs force it on just 11.5%. So when it comes to creating chaos, the edge swings back to New York. But here is the problem, because you can only take away what the other team gives up, and the Spurs barely give anything up. See, San Antonio turns it over on just 11.8% of their trips, the 5th lowest in the league. So New York's pressure meets one of the most careful teams in basketball, and the steal never comes. Real quick though, if you've made it this far, you've really got to hit subscribe. I'm not gonna beg, but I am going to ask. Alright, round 6, the free throw line, and this might be the quietest edge of all, because the Spurs allow the fewest free throws in the entire league. See, opponents get to the line on just 0.18 of every shot. Against the Knicks though, that number climbs to 0.206. So San Antonio defends without fouling, and those are points New York never gets, and here is why that hurts so much. Because New York already doesn't get to the line. In fact, their free throw rate ranks 25th in the league, so they live on jumpers, and now they're walking into the one defense that gives up 0 freebies. So a Knick weakness meets a Spur strength, and the math just gets worse. And on the other end, San Antonio does get there, because the Spurs draw free throws at 0.215 a shot, while the Knicks sit down at 0.188, so one team manufactures easy points at the stripe, and the other simply does not. Round 6, San Antonio. Okay, round 7, tempo, because style decides who's comfortable. So here is pace, the number of possessions each team wants per game, and the Knicks play at 96.8, the 4th slowest in the entire league. The Spurs meanwhile push it to 99.9, so New York wants a rock fight, and San Antonio would happily run. So this becomes a tug of war, because if the game slows to a crawl, that favors New York. Their half court, their grind, but if Fox gets out and runs, then it tilts the other way. So watch the tempo in game 1, because whoever dictates it controls the entire series. And finally, round 8, depth, because a series is 7 games, and legs get tired. So look at the minutes the Stars are carrying. Brunson plays 35 a night, while Wembanyama plays just 29, so one star is being run into the ground, and the other is being saved. And here is the reason he can rest, because San Antonio goes 8, maybe 9 deep. See, after Wembanyama, you've still got Fox and Castle and Vassell and Johnson and Harper all scoring in double figures. New York, though, leans hard on 5 starters, so when the bench checks in, the Spurs barely drop off, and the Knicks hold their breath. So round 8, San Antonio. So let's put the whole season on one map. Offense across the bottom, defense up the side. Now watch both teams sit way out right. Elite offenses, both of them. But look up the defensive axis, because the Spurs climb higher, so New York is great on one end and San Antonio is great on 2. So the verdict, because by the numbers, San Antonio has the edge. They won the resume, they won defense, they won the line, and they won depth. New York took the glass and the takeaways, but the Spurs win the tape 5 rounds to 2 with offense a dead heat. So here is the whole tape on one screen. Spurs on the resume, Spurs on defense, Spurs at the line and in the rotation, Knicks on the offensive glass, and on takeaways. In offense, a tie. So the edge leans clearly San Antonio. But now, the honest catch, because the regular season is not the playoffs. So here is New York's path. 1, Brunson, who only gets better in May. 2, the offensive glass for second chances. And 3, the takeaways that flip into transition. So if those 3 tilt their way, this tape gets ripped right up. And on top of that, a series is a small sample, because 8 games of variance can bury a full season of evidence. So the numbers say San Antonio, but basketball in June has a funny way of laughing at the numbers. So I'm gonna leave it with you. The deeper team says Spurs, but the tougher closer says Knicks. So which one actually wins 4 games first? So tell me down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. We're in a race to 1,000 subscribers, so please join the family.